from across lots and lots of backgrounds coming in, right? What we're going to be doing now is quickly jumping into showing you our presentation. We'll start with a little bit of introduction about who 100x Engineers really is, because it's been a journey of a couple of years for us to get to where we are today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we do what we do, and then we're going to jump into talking about intermediate LLMs, which is the topic for today's webinar. Right? Next slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is something which I initially explored. So these are three things which we'll be covering today. Understanding DeepSeek R1, we'll take a look. How can you download DeepSeek on your local machine, use that? What are the benefits of using DeepSeek? How can you basically build apps? What is RAG? How can you use this technology to build the final project which we'll be building by end of the session? This is your AI second brain. So this is how it will go. And
You already done this
we already done this.
introduction. Yeah. So let's start a little bit of a quick history lesson. So back in 2022, towards the
Yes.
end of 22, what we were doing was we had just Siddhant had just exited his previous company. Unacademy had acquired Scenes by Avalon, and the inception of the company was more of an AI lab where everyone was experimenting with building AI solutions. Right? God in a Box was an application which was a very simple application, which was WhatsApp which was ChatGPT inside the WhatsApp API that kind of exploded, and over 1.5 million users got onto it. Of course, right now we have AI on WhatsApp directly, so this application is sort of not as it's trying to become obsolete, but about a year and a half back, having ChatGPT on your WhatsApp was great. For some reason, it blew up in the Spanish-speaking countries, right? We created something called AutoCode Pro, which was sort of like the early stage Devin, which could code for you, which was your code assistant, right? We used to call it your personal junior developer. And we also created something called Alpha CTR, which was an AI-based graphic designer, right? Not graphic designer, just graphic designer. It was AI graphic designer and also especially a thumbnail designer, because we had so much experience of making YouTube videos. We were like, hey, the thumbnail is so important. How about we fine tune a model on the best performing thumbnails and then use that data to fine tune a diffusion model so we can consistently produce great thumbnails, right? So we were an AI lab back in the day, and we realized that there is so much potential for Gen AI being used across so many fields. And from this actually came another organization. We call it AOS Labs, right? AOS Labs is a company which works with enterprises and creates AI solutions, right? So one of the wings that came out was AOS Labs, and they are creating AI-based services for some of the largest companies in the country right now. There was they worked with Mirzapur. They did the face swap campaign with Guddu Bhaiya, and basically could be in the trailer with Guddu Bhaiya. They've done a bunch of stuff like Dhoni was singing in an ad with eMotorrad. It became very, very popular when it came out, right? So one of the wings was AI services, and AI services was a place where we were constantly, again, experimenting with AI, delivering services. And along with this AI lab, AI services, we also realized that people want to know about, how you can build using generative AI solutions, because we've already done it as a lab and for other people. So let's create an organization whose job is to help people get onto generative AI, right? That was sort of the conception of 100x Engineers, and that is when we decided to start making videos about what's going on and tutorials. So if you've been someone who's following us for a couple of years now, you'll know that our earliest videos were tutorial-based videos, long-form ones on YouTube, where we would show you how you can do voice cloning, how you could do face swap, and those were some of the videos which gained the most amount of traction early on as well, right? Um, Some of the things that we've also been doing, because we've been such pioneers of the generative AI development and the curriculum space, is that we are building a curriculum for Meta. In fact, we're building a complete end-to-end uh, course for LLMs, which is the Llama LLMs for Meta, and also marketing for a course on marketing by using AI, Meta AI tools, right? So yeah, I think some part of the generative AI for marketers is already out on Blueprint, on Meta's official LLM, not LLM, sorry, what do you call it?
Education portal.
LMS,
Yeah, LMS portal.
LMS portal. So you guys can check that out there. Next slide. And yeah, and if you guys have been following us recently, you know that we also hosted one of India's largest generative AI hackathons recently, right? We partnered with OpenAI, with Nexus Venture Partners, Sentient, and a bunch of really cool AI-based companies. And a lot of people won bounties over about, I think their total bounty worth how much?
Like somewhere around like $5,000.
$5,000 worth of bounty was earned. So about 3.5, 4 lakhs worth of bounty was earned by the winners who won the generative AI build-a-thon, right? Cool. So reiterating, we start with the masterclass right now. We're going to jump into it. We're going to do a quick run through of the cohort that we teach, the 6-month long program. It actually begins on the 14th of February. So if you want to know more about that, wait till the end. We will get to it. But until then, we're just going to focus on the masterclass. And the last 10 to 15 minutes of the session are going to be Q&A session. This Q&A session could be about anything that you've learned today about intermediate LLMs, or it could also be about the cohort that we are going to be talking about, right? So we go to the next slide. And I think with that, we are about to begin the masterclass. And I'm going to come back towards the end. The rest of the session will be taken by Siddhant. But yeah, all the best, folks. All the best.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Zahid. Cool. Awesome. Let's start this session. And as I mentioned, like this is one of the most, you can say, latest technology out there. Like if you have been active in the LLM space, DeepSeek has basically gained popularity, not because it's an open source model, but it is one of the cheapest model out there. Like if you compare this with O1 or like models like O1 Pro, DeepSeek today stands at 97% cheaper than all the other like reasoning models out there. And they were able to like build this entire model from scratch. This was the Chinese company under $5 million, which was like also like a budget which was like very far-fetched as compared to what OpenAI supposed to put like billions of dollars in the company to build that thing. And that is where like it gained enough popularity. But what it means for people like you and me is that now we have something which is as comparable with the OpenAI O1, which is your $20 per month subscription, and O1 Pro, which is $200 per month subscription. And this model can run locally. You can download the weights given that you have enough compute with you. But even if you don't have enough compute, I'll basically discuss some of the ways and some of the techniques. How can you use a model like this locally? And maybe if you want to build your next application, so without paying or without breaking your bank, you can basically use these models to start building apps, to start building MVPs, prototypes, and maybe like you can deploy it also, and you can cut down your costs. If you're using O1, I can basically guarantee you that you can cut down the cost at least by 95% of whatever you were doing previously. So that's going to be like a huge upgrade, right? Now, I'll basically like first show you how you can use DeepSeek. There's like two ways right now. If you want to, let me open my window. And this is basically one chart which I just want to show before starting the session. Now, this is by Latent Space, and if you know recently what happened, Sam Altman tweeted this, that there's going to be a big news because of all the changes which is happening in this industry. The ChatGPT is now going to get the O3 mini, and the reason why it was very obvious, because this is something which like we all knew, and sometimes I feel also very fascinated about this industry, right? Just tell me maybe if you guys have observed this trend. This is the only industry in the world where we have seen products like O1 coming, and in just last 3 months, and it's not like long ago, like I think 3 to 4 months back, this is where O1 got publicly available for everyone. And within the last 3 months, we got 27 times reduction in the cost. And this is the only industry in where like you can see and expect like some type of cost reduction like this, right? If you compare this with any traditional manufacturing, marketing, or any other kind of industry, right? And it's huge. And one of the main reason why it makes sense for somebody who is like now entering into applied AI field or any basically AI based application field is that understanding what is the latest models out there, how can you better use them, and what are the use cases where you can apply this intelligence. Now you have the intelligence, and which is also cheaper. One of the very another interesting insight here is that cost of GPT level intelligence fell 1,000 times in last 1.5 years, which is like amazing, because if you look at the past data and now you can also project the future trends, you can imagine in next 5 years, the intelligence, at least somewhat like GPT-4 levels, gonna be almost like negligible for the cost. Like it will be like for free, right? And you guys can access that. And that is what we have seen so far right now. Now, let me show you first like two ways of using DeepSeek. One is you can directly go to DeepSeek website. Now, if you are somebody who just wants to maybe play around, if you're a developer, maybe like a non-developer, you just want to like check how it works, what's the vibe check look like. By the way, their search mode is like very, very interesting. I think like I find it like better than the GPT search. I was using GPT search for some time, then I moved to Perplexity. Recently started using DeepSeek for this. They have deep thinking mode, which is similar to the O1 mode. If you only want direct inference, you can just like type a message here, say maybe what is LLM? So it will just like give you the inference similar to how ChatGPT works. But if you want the deep thinking mode, let me just like pause this right now and I'll ask the same question. I'll just like turn on the deep think mode. Now, this is where it gets interesting because unlike O1, you can now see the thinking process behind it, right? O1 also gives you some stats about what exactly it is going through, but those are like summarized points. It does not exactly tells you that these are the things and these are the reasoning behind how it is thinking things along the way. And it is very interesting to know that this is how an AI is coming up to a conclusion. So you can read out loud. I'll basically read out this for you. Okay, the user is asking what is LLM. Wait, they asked the same question before. Let me check the history. So you see like now AI is basically reflecting back on the answers on the conversation. It's basically trying to get the context and basically going through this entire chain of thought and then compiling everything and then giving the answer. So the answer which I got from the deep thinking mode versus something which I just got from the direct mode, it's like gonna be slightly different and basically will have like much more nuance and details over it. You can also add like search. Now these are the things to get started with DeepSeek. I highly recommend if you haven't checked this model, do check this out. There are some interesting prompts which I can basically share with you. One of the way I basically right now using DeepSeek is for mostly planning because I used to use these models for planning and reasoning. If you're using DeepSeek today and you have basically a particular task, maybe you want to plan a particular software you are building, right? As most of you are developers here. So this is a very interesting framework. So what I did like in last 1 week and since like DeepSeek has been out, I went to Reddit, I went to like Discord groups, like Twitter groups, and I tried like bunch of prompts. And this is like one of the prompts which I have like gotten, and it works very well for planning purpose. Again, there are like different prompts I will basically also share with all of you guys. Maybe after this session, you can scan the QR code. I'll basically share the QR code link and you can ask me for the docs and I'll share the links, all these links which has the prompt template, which you can later use and basically build. So this is one of the prompts which you can use when you want to plan things. One thing which I realize as compared to what we do in LLMs for ChatGPT and like Claude, they understand text and markdown better. But for the case of DeepSeek R1, it understands XML based format much more like easier, right? And so like you can use something like this. This is the basic structure where you define the purpose. For example, in this case, say we are building a full stack Next.js applications. First, you need to give the personality, you need to give that initial prompt to it. So this is how you can basically do that. After defining the purpose, you need to write the planning rules. Now, this is something which is some of you might not be, you can say, very much familiar with this because we do not have this habit of like sending planning rules to ChatGPT, right? Because we didn't had from a very long time multi-step planning approach baked into these LLMs. But because we do have right now, if you don't give planning rules, I have seen that it works most of the time fine. But if you want to basically produce a very specific output, it's gonna be much more effective if you just write the step or 4-step plan, right? This is like one of the very popular way of like asking LLM to achieve exactly what you want and how you want things. And then the format rules, like apart from like the planning rules, you need to also mention that what kind of things you would be expecting. For example, in this case, we are building the app, so you need API routes and you need like all the file level tasks to be in a particular, you can say, sections, and you need to split the code into front end, back end config. So all these formatting rules which you basically need, you can also pass in directly here, so that the end output will be much more, you can say, finished and polished. And finally, the output itself, like what DeepSeek or what this LLM supposed to produce, right? And you need to basically give that as an example. In this case, I haven't given the example, but you can also maybe use some example which can basically help you do that. Uh, I was basically trying to do the same thing for today's project, which was like building a second brain. So this is how I can give you another example how it's going to look like. This is a purpose, building a second brain, and which can ingest like all these things and make a searchable knowledge base. And then we have a 4-step planning rule that these formats. So I basically want to use like the LM Studio integration here. And yeah, so basically this is a more or less the template which basically I'm going to send it to you. Now you can copy this template, whatever task you have for planning, for reasoning, you can basically use this, put your purpose, put your planning rules, format rules, output, and you can basically do that. That's That's basically like a very surface level stuff, and I don't like this is something which you might be able to find right now. One thing which I want to take it to the next part, how can you download DeepSeek? Like so far I just showed you that you can use DeepSeek. Let me check this. Yeah, so far you can see the DeepSeek from this URL. I have this very interesting, you can say, app which I've been using from a very long time, and this is called LM Studio. Now you can download LM Studio from this website called lmstudio.ai. It is available for Windows, Linux, and Mac. So you can download it right now. And how it's going to look like is something like this. A few caveats before downloading any model on LM Studio. I'll basically run you through the prerequisite. You need to have some system requirements in check, right? If you are using Mac OS, so make sure you are using M1, M2, M3, M4, like anything basically the new Apple Silicon, it works on that. Um, it doesn't work on the Intel-based Macs right now. So like if you're using that, you might not be able to like get the LM Studio. For Windows, it works on both 64 and ARM-based architecture, which means like you can use like anything Snapdragon, Intel. The one caveat again here is it because it's like a very huge model, right? Most of the model like which are out there, unless until you are using like a smaller model like 5 Pi and like Qwen, which are like less than 1 billion parameter model. Most of these models are like 7 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion, 70 billion parameter models. So they require you like to have like more RAM available. So if you have 16 GB or more, then I don't think you will get any issues with this. But if you don't have that, what I can suggest you, maybe you can use some services like Lightning AI. Now, this is another resource which I can basically share. So Lightning AI is also free AI studio. And you can basically try this out. You can like you can onboard here. By default, every single person who is going to like sign up as a new user, they will get one active studio, which means like 22 GPU hours per month. So you can access like all these GPUs, like high powered computation with like VRAM up to 16 GB, 34 GB, which you can upgrade later on. But this is what you will get for the free. So you can like use Lightning AI as well, and then you can maybe uh, install LM Studio, or maybe they do have the integration with DeepSeek and LM Studio. You can like use that. But in this case, assuming that you guys have these system requirements, I am using M1 right now on this PC. So the first step I need to do is like download the LM Studio, and after downloading it, I'll basically show you how it's going to look like. This is more or less the UI of LM Studio is. I think some of you might be aware of this. You might just need to click on this button here, explore, and there's like bunch of models now I can see, and all of these are open source model, right? One of the main reason why I'm using this particular way of using models is because tomorrow I can install everything locally on my system, and even I can turn off my internet. I don't need to basically connect to any third-party device. My data is going to be on my device, and I'm not compromising anything here. And this is very, very helpful for people who are building apps for enterprises for their own company knowledge, because one of the main reason why what I have seen in the MNC is that they don't allow their employees to send the personal data or the company data to these model APIs such as like Claude, OpenAI, because they don't know exactly how they're going to use this data, right? So this is going to be the best alternative for all of you. Uh, you have bunch of options. I have played around with a lot of these models. Before DeepSeek, I used to use a lot Llama 3 and the Qwen models. Recently, so this was the Distill model, which I was telling you, right? You don't need to install the biggest model right now on your machine. Again, this is my personal recommendation. If you have 16 GB of RAM, or maybe if you're somewhere around like even 32 GB, you can start with Qwen 7 billion parameter model. This is the DeepSeek R1 distilled version of it. So which can basically like pretty much run smoothly on any 16 GB RAM, as long as like you have either Apple Silicon or you have Intel-based PC, right, with that particular RAM. Now, once you download this, it'll download all the weights. In my PC, I have downloaded already everything, because otherwise it'll take like another like 15-20 minutes. So now you can see this is how it look like. The architecture is Qwen, the parameter is 7 billion, and there's like you can basically check out the docs and everyone who has used that. I can click on use in the chat, and then this is a chat which is available for me. Now, the difference between this chat versus the chat I have on DeepSeek is that I'm not using it via web, and I can basically have the similar level functionality. However, it's not going to be exactly same as compared to what is out there, because this model is like the most you can say the biggest model out there, because they're using also the higher computation power. In this case, I'm using something which can run on my local machine. So maybe let's test this right now. I'll say, tell me a joke. I'll just use the same question actually. What is LLM? And you can see right now that Assistance has started like writing answer, and it basically gave all the answers to me. Now, one thing you'll notice here that it's actually working very similar to ChatGPT or any other LLM. It is also giving you the speed of the tokens and everything else, right? So this is the second way of using DeepSeek. You can like download it locally. Um, there is now the third part, right, which I will basically introduce you. How you can build application on top of it. Now there is something called developer mode. I have already, so either you can use power user or you can use developer. Power user is where you can get most of these functionalities which are already available for the developers. For developer mode, I go to this tab, the developer tab, and you can see right now. I'll just maybe, yeah, I hope like you can now see this. This is the developer mode, and I have all the endpoints. This is OpenAI compatible endpoints, which means if you are using OpenAI by this point in any of your application, you can install LM Studio. You can download DeepSeek R1 or any version of DeepSeek R1. In this case, I'm using the Distill Qwen 7 billion, and you can use the same APIs. So these are the APIs which basically this LM Studio provides you, and this is the response which it gives. So you can basically get the response out there and all the models, and then you can start using the chat completions, the embeddings, and the models, everything, right? By default, it is local servers is like on this port, which is like local host 1234. If your LM Studio is not like working on the local server, you can run one command. This is LMS server start. This is the command. So once you run this command, it will basically start your server on the port number 1234. And beyond this point, then you can just like use this particular port. Let me do that. And I'll just say models. I'll use v1/model. v1/models. So once I hit this API URL, and this is running locally on my system. You can see like this will return me the response, and now you can integrate this URL in your local machine and start building the application. Now there are two approaches to build the second brain, and this is where we are coming to the second part of the session. We understood how you can use DeepSeek, like one by going to their website, like checking the product, but this is where you need to like depend on the DeepSeek's servers. The another way is by using LM Studio, which you can download, and then you can start loading all the models locally, which you can basically also either use from the LM Studio UI, which looks like this, or you can use the developer mode and run everything locally on this particular endpoint as an API. And tomorrow, if you want to export this, you can use something like Ollama, right? This is something which I prefer, right? If you are using development for development purpose and development mode, LM Studio will work for most of the cases. But if you want to say host it on a machine, you can use something like Ollama, and there is a very interesting tutorial for Ollama and Lightning AI. So which means like even if you don't have the all the models right now with you, maybe you don't have the enough compute, you can still pretty much use this starter kit which these guys have. Let me use this one. So they already have one RAG kit for onboarding. Let me actually start the onboarding process. I can use dark mode, and I'll prefer text for now. Okay, I think I might need to verify my number. I already have this on my different account. Let me open this. Yeah, so they have like different tutorials which you can basically check this out, and you can directly open this in the studio. So this is the RAG built by uh, using Llama 3. I'll basically show you the one which is built using the Streamlit and the Llama Index version using Ollama, which means you can again uh, Ollama is very similar to LM Studio. It's just it comes without UI. So if you are somebody who wants to like start working around these models, you can get started with the LM Studio. After that, if you want to like deploy it somewhere, maybe like use it locally, you can use something like Ollama, and this is also. But the only thing here is this works on command line, so you won't have the UI like this what you have in the LM Studio, right? So once you open this, now you can basically like run any command on your terminal. So I can run Ollama DeepSeek. I can just first check Ollama. These are the commands. Let me see all the model Ollama list. So as you can see now, it has started loading the Llama 3 model for me. And once it will complete the loading process, it will basically be able to give me all the modules for the Llama 3, and then I can start having the conversation on the UI. Right now, I'm going to stop this because I already have loaded one model and my RAM might not be able to support two models together. So, but this is the process which I just showed you. You can start with LM Studio. First interact with the UI. If you check the model, see if the outputs are working for you, use the local server and build the application. And once everything is working fine, or maybe if you don't have say the local model, you can use the Lightning Studio. And yeah, you can basically refer to this particular tutorial where you have like the exact step-by-step process, how you can basically run this application, which will help you like run everything in this studio. And you can like open this right now. So these are the two ways how you can basically start using it. For this tutorial, I'm not going to use Lightning Studio because I do have like enough compute right now with me. So I'll be going back to the LM Studio, and I'll show you like how can you now use this API, use this as an API, right? So as I showed you, the API is already working, and I'll open Cursor. So Cursor is my go-to coding editor right now. Now, some of you who might not be aware of Cursor, I'll just quickly share the website. So you can download from cursor.com. This is the AI code editor. You can download it for your particular operating system. This is very similar to VS Code. If you have used VS Code in the past. If not, then this is where you write code. There's like a lot of now companies who are using it. This is AI first native editor. I personally like prefer this over any other editor these days because I get a lot of stuff done very quickly. Now I'll show you like how I work with it. So I create a new workspace. This is how it will look like. It's an empty workspace right now. And I'm gonna just like write this command to the composer view. This is the composer, which is similar to an AI assistant for this coding editor. I'm going to write this command called build a Gradio UI to connect with LM Studio APIs running locally. And one thing we should notice here, I have used this particular doc, right? And this is the power of Cursor Composer, where you can add any doc from the world. One of the major reason why I have seen, again, me building apps with all the AI tools from last 2 years is these tools hallucinate a lot when they do not have the context. So our job as developers or basically AI builders is to provide all these models enough context so that they always gonna follow the right set of paths and right set of commands. Sometimes they do not have it. For example, the LM Studio have the latest APIs, which are basically available for chat completions, right? So I'm because using Cursor and this Cursor AI model, which is under the hood using Claude 3.5, might not have the latest documentation. So what can I do here is I can just like add @symbol docs, and I can click on docs. I can click on the plus icon, and here I can add link to any doc in the world, right? I can basically go to LM Studio docs, and I can basically just like copy this URL. I can add this URL. I need to make sure that this is the right documentation for what I'm going to build. So I can see, okay, this is where the API reference is mentioned. And I can basically go here and add this as a doc. I basically add this as a doc. It'll ask me to add the name. I have already added LM Studio here, so I'm not going to like confirm this, but if you haven't done that, you can actually use this. So this is how basically I got. And once you return this, you can see like how many docs I have right now. I have like LM Studio with me. I have Gradio UI. I actually like show you these are the docs. Notion doc, Grok Cloud, Whisper, Llama Index, Clerk. So all of these things. I'll basically right now just use LM Studio. Now this is the command. Just reiterating what we are doing. We learned how to use DeepSeek in different ways. One is by their website. Second is on locally. And for locally, we installed this software called LM Studio. And then we loaded the models from the discovery page. In this case, I'm using DeepSeek R1 Distill Qwen 7 billion parameter model, which is like a smaller model as compared to what the initial model is, to make sure it runs on my local machine, because my local machine only has 16 GB of RAM. Once I download this model, I can use it in the chat. And the second way how you can build application locally using DeepSeek R1 is by turning on the developer mode for LM Studio. And you go to this tab, developer tab, and you make sure that local server is running. If local server is not running, you need to run one command on your PC, on your terminal, which is LMS server start. Once you run this command, it will start the server, and it will basically show you the green symbol here. Once this is green, everything is fine, then you can start building your application. You can prefer any tech stack. In this case, I'm using Python and Gradio to quickly spin up a UI so that I can show you as a demo. But you can prefer anything. I'll be using agent mode here, and I'll just like submit this right now. So Cursor has started working on this. And you can also like read what it is doing. It is first saying that it will help me set up the Gradio UI. If somebody who is not aware of what is Gradio, I would highly recommend, if you are new to machine learning, deep learning, AI world, and you are coming from the Python background, this is going to be much more easier for you. Gradio is a Python-based library, which means like you don't need to learn JavaScript and any other new languages, and you can pretty much use Gradio interface, which are these components, and you can build pretty much all the applications like this. They have a playground version where you can find all these apps which you can build, maybe like a tax calculator, a chatbot, a streaming window, and stuff like that. So, and you can also generate code here using the Gradio AI. I think it will show you the output. Yeah, so this is the output look like. Now we'll be using the same Gradio components because I just want to use one single language, and yeah. So it has written all the code for me. I'm gonna go and accept all the code, and I'll also see like what are the things it has given to me. I need to install these two things. Okay, let me open that. So I installed all the packages which it said, and let me see if it works. Python app.py. So it got the base URL correct, as you can see. Let me now see. So I ran this command python app.py. If you know how to run Python command, it's like very simple way of like writing this app. Let me now open this URL on my browser. And what you can see right now is this is the Gradio UI, which is basically available for me, and everything generated by Cursor right now. So I can click on list available models. What it will do, it will show me all the models which I have downloaded locally on my system. So there are two models you can see, DeepSeek R1 and the text embedding, which I have downloaded on the LM Studio. And I can basically choose any of these. I can add the model name. So I'll basically put this, and I'll basically add the model name. I can set the temperature. I can add a system prompt. I can add a user prompt, and basically just send what is LM. And also you can basically check this entire UI, which is basically the code which is written here. You can tomorrow use maybe your JavaScript project, maybe the Streamlit project, and you can like continue building on top of it. One of the great ways, because right now we are not using any other API key, so you can see that I don't have to add any API keys here, which will basically gonna deduct the balance and anything from my account, and I can pretty much use directly everything from this local machine. So now it got the response back. So this was the model. And again, if you remember the prompt template which I showed you, this is the reason why I basically showed you the XML-based prompt template, because by default, DeepSeek R1 follows, and in the training set also, it has basically been trained on the instruction set, which uses the XML-based format. So if you basically provide the XML-based format for your templates, for your prompts, you're gonna see like a much better performance as compared to the direct text or markdown. So you can see like this is how it basically gave everything, and we just like built a very simple application right now on our local machine using the local studio for the LM Studio and DeepSeek R1. Now, taking a step back from here, And like moving on to the next part, I hope like so far things make sense, and you guys were able to like follow along. Now we have two options. Either we can start creating a RAG-based solution for our in basically a cursor, and I can basically like install different packages. So there are different solutions to build RAG application today. You can use Llama Index, you can use LangChain. There are like also other applications which are out there for developers, and you guys can use that. Um, but first, I'll try to like break it down for everybody. Like, what does RAG means? Now let me go back right now. So I'll basically just take this as an example right now. I was having a conversation with ChatGPT. So what is one of the major problem so far has happened, like, and basically is one of the major challenge in the LLM industry is when LLM start hallucinating about a topic. You never know if everything what LLM is producing as an output. For example, even we ran the LLM Studio today, it gave us like bunch of things. It gave us the outputs, but we were not able to like you can say make sure whether all of these are correct or not. One of the very popular technique here is to ground all of these data with some citations, with some sources, right? If instead of me asking directly what does LLM stand and what is LLM, and I can basically, like, the other way is I can use Wikipedia or maybe like any other trusted source which I basically trust today, and I can basically know that this is the entire article. I don't want to go through the entire article, so I'll just like copy the entire paragraph, and then I basically use this maybe say in the DeepSeek itself, and I'll say use this as a context and then answer the queries. So after this, I'll basically follow or maybe use this as a system prompt, and then you can imagine your users can start asking it like, I'll say what is LLM. Now, because I have clearly mentioned that use this particular piece of information as the context, uh, LLM is now forced to use this data. And because I know that it is using a data which I trust already, and I have basically verified the source of it, and this is very important when you're working with internal documents. Maybe you have a company policy which is not anywhere on the internet, and you are asking LLM about it, so it might hallucinate on that. So make sure you give the context to it and then ask the following question. Now, what this process does it basically gives the relevant context to the LLM, and then LLM will basically try to find out based on the query what is the most relevant piece of information in this entire article instead of like cramming everything. So it basically went and gave me this particular answer, and it basically you can see the thinking process also. I need to figure out what LLM based what is an LLM based on the provided context. Let me start skimming through the text again to pick out the key points. The first paragraph says LLM is a machine learning model. So basically it read everything, and it was, as you can see, it was reading the entire article which I provide as a context, and then it was like um, trying to make sense that whether this is the right answer for the query which I have written. So it basically gave everything, and then it basically concluded that I should make this answer covers these definitions and also mention that the evolution current state of LM or all of that, right? So that is basically you can say the most easiest and simplest way to understand retrieval augmented generation, where you retrieve the data first. Now I retrieved this data from Wikipedia, that was my source, and then I provided it as a context to LLM. Now when I provided this as a context, I'll actually like compare this. So these are the three steps. Let me write. So we'll start retrieval, augmentation, and generation. So retrieval is where I got my information from. In this case, it was Wikipedia, right? I'll just say Wiki. And once I got my information, I basically provided this in the prompt. So I give some context plus the prompt, and this prompt could be anything. This prompt could be the question itself, right? So now my LLM is not only answering based on the data which it understand, but it already has the context which it basically understood from the source data. And this is the context which I basically gave from the particular source. And then finally, what you do, you pass this augmented prompt to LLM. This is what we did here. I think here, yeah. So this is the augmentation step where we augment the prompt with the context, and then LLM. This is what we use DeepSeek right now as an LLM to generate the answer, and this is the generation process. So this entire thing is the generation part. Let me see this. So this is the generation part. Is the generated output from LLM. Now, this is the most simplest way I can explain RAG without like complicating things for everyone too much. But I hope like this makes sense. Once you have this basic, you can say foundation of how you can connect any source or maybe like pull data from any source, provide the relevant context to LLM along with the question which it is asking, and then LLM can generate the output, and you can combine all these steps, and it can basically happen for any prompt for any data source. This is where you build an RAG solution, right? You can potentially check out like a lot of different ways. This entire masterclass would not be enough for me, and I won't be able to do justice if I start like explaining you everything about RAG, different chunking method, because this has like a lot of processes behind it. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to give you like a very interesting but useful piece of you can say tool which can start helping you to build your second brain. And this is called, by the way, called Anything LLM. Now this is very similar to your LM Studio, but this helps you download, connect all the models which are running locally, and then you can build different pipelines on top of it. So they do have like uh, different resources. Let me show you the documentation. So you can create a different chat interface. You can build agents through this, and they are like a different agentic module. You can basically use different RAG pipeline. And how it looks like, first you go to their website, download this right now. So you can like do the installation. Once you install this, I already have installed it on my local machine. This is how it looks like. I'll basically create a new workspace. This is say test webinar. This is the new workspace by default. By default, it doesn't have anything in the context. So you can basically click on this button, and if you look at it, I have already uploaded some documents. You can click here, you can upload more documents from your PC. You can add a website also, like tomorrow, say you are working on your company data. Say, let me add 100x engineers website as one of the data source. I'll just use this. So I use 100x engineers also. I'll fetch the website. So it will go and will scrape the entire link for me. And then it will basically create the document. You can see like now it has like added the document as .html file. I can upload. So I have already uploaded my curriculum overview and the learning outcomes part. So I do one thing, I basically select these two items from my documents. And this is again, everything running on my local machine. So I transfer this and I move to the new workspace. So this is my workspace for webinar, and I'll just save this entire thing. So what I have done right now, I have uploaded different files, which were basically my context, right? If you remember the concept which we learned, the retrieval part, these are the sources. In this case, my source was website and the document which basically I had for 100x curriculum. I use this as my source data because I know 100x curriculum is not being you can say ingested by any of the LMs as of now. So even if I ask anything about it, it won't be able to answer. This is my company data, or basically say context data. Once I do this, I added it here. I can also create some data connectors, which means like I can connect to GitHub repo. Tomorrow, if you're working with your code base, or maybe if you have any particular project which you want to learn from, and that is available on GitHub, or maybe you want a YouTube video which you want to index here, so you can use those things. If you are somebody who use Confluence, you can do that. You want to like use link scraper to scrape any website, you can also use that as a connector. So, but for now, I'm just like using the documents on my PC, and I have everything here right now. I can click on the settings icon, and this is where I can start configuring with more stuff, right? I can basically change the chat settings. So by default, it uses the uh, default LLM providers. Now you can change the LLM providers here. I am already using DeepSeek. I was not able to show you the onboarding process of anything LLM because I already installed it. But once you install it, it will ask you to connect your LLM provider. In my case, because I have installed LLM Studio, so I can directly use that. I think in this case, you can see these are the different provider it basically offers, and LM Studio is one of them. So you can select the LM Studio, and you can basically like ask it to like use that as the default provider. And then you can just like provide the system prompt, the query method, the LM temperature. These are some default settings. Let me now first test it before going to the other settings. So I'll just like create a new thread, and I'll ask it, okay, uh, and this is like me talking to a document which is not there on the LM. So you can maybe test this query with other LMs. I'll say I want to build an LLM based app. Will this curriculum help me? So at this point, it understand this because I have already provided a context, right? If you again compare this with our part, we gave the source, which was the document and the website data. And then now when I asked this particular query, I want to build an LLM based app with this curriculum. What is happening behind the scenes that it is using this query as the user prompt, and then it basically adding the context, and the context here is my docs, which basically consists of my Google Doc as well as my website data. So this is what the LLM is now receiving. This is the augmentation step. And the final step, which is the generation, because now LLM is receiving the docs and the website data along with the prompt, it is basically giving me the answer based on the documentation. Now you can see it basically thought about it, and it gave me that in lecture 3, it mentions that we discuss about these capabilities, OpenAI playground. So it basically went and checked everything. So it gave me the conclusion that yes, the curriculum will help you build an LLM based application. And here is why, because understanding LLM functionality, this is what curriculum covers. In this particular part, you will also learn about Python, Grok SDK. You will learn about function calling, tool calling. So it gave you all the information, which was very specific to my company data, which I uploaded and based on my website. And everything it was basically able to do using the same approach which we just learned. Now there are some caveats, there are some like limitations of this, which is everything will work fine as long as you can fit in the same context window. So every LLM has a context window, which means the length of number of words and tokens you can put into one single prompt. Beyond a point, the LLM will not be able to understand this if you don't provide the context in this context window. So this is where the new techniques, or maybe like the different techniques, comes in, where you start breaking the entire doc. Because if I'm not able to fit, so I have in this case, I had a doc which maybe had some 20, 30 pages. So I was able to put everything into one context. But if I have a doc which has say 1 million pages, in that case, I need to like start chunking these different pages and maybe like find uh, how can I like fit the best possible uh, part of this entire document, and I can index that. It's very similar to creating a book where you create different index for each and every page. You add different topics, subtopics, and then you basically give this entire index to LLM. So LLM can basically understand based on the query which chapter it needs to look in, or under which chapter it needs to look in for this question, and it can basically do that. It is very similar to, if I have to explain as an analogy, uh, how a child gives an open book test where you don't have everything memorized what is written in this book, but you know how to read a book and you have a book in front of you. So you see a question paper, you see the question, and then you basically know, okay, this question is talking about, say, a property of heat. And so you go to the physics book and you basically see like where exactly we have learned about heat. So you first check the index, you check the chapter, and then you check the subtopic, and then you basically open the page and copy the answer from there. And that is exactly what LM is doing right now. And now uh, you can configure a lot of things here. You can, as I was mentioning, you can also include your own vector database. Everything, by the way, what I've shown you so far is happening locally. There are like different integrations. There is something called LanceDB. Uh, if you haven't checked this out, I think this is something which I have used a lot when I was using the database for local. I think they do have the local RAG tutorial as well. Yeah. So this is their official blog for creating LLM-based apps using the local RAG. So you can basically check this particular part out. What they help you is basically you can create all the embeddings, which means like this might again like beyond the scope of this masterclass, but which means like it can convert all the text data into a format which is now understandable by the LLM, and you can use these embeddings to basically answer the queries. This is where you can divide the entire like 1 million piece of context into different chunks, and now every chunk is understandable, and maybe we can convert this into a format which is understandable by LLMs, and then you can query, and after every query, LM can look into this database, which is LanceDB in this case, and find the relevant piece of context. Again, use that as an augmentation step, put it here, and ask the follow-up prompt with the same approach, and it will basically give you the answer like that. Um, After that, you can also check out here the agent configuration. This is something which I am recently like working on. You can configure different agent skills, which means that you can build a RAG-based long-term memory. Imagine like you want to do this not for one particular company data, maybe for your own personal notes. So you want to like have a, you can say, a never-ending conversation with this LLM. What is the limitation with ChatGPT and other LLMs today is that after a point you'll just hit a limit and you don't know exactly when you will hit those limit and how the GPT is summarizing the previous thought. But in this case, you can actually control that. You can decide what are the parts you should put in the long-term memory, which will always going to stay there, and what are the parts you can summarize and maybe like just like put in the summarization parts. You can add the website, maybe any other data, things which you have saved as a bookmark here. You can connect with different parts, right? You can also like create different connectors for this. Now, this is more or less what I wanted to basically show you for building the second brain part. I also know that because of the limited time, I'm not able to like showcase you the entire process of writing the code. But what I wanted to like convey today is the process and the execution part, how you can use the DeepSeek. You understand the principles of RAG, which is retrieval augmentation generation, and you also know what are the tools out there which can basically help you set up a RAG-based system locally on your machine so that you can build your second brain using AI. And now you also know that how you can use the APIs from these tools, right? In this case, we have seen like we have also built, by the way, the APIs on top of the LM Studio, which is running right now on our local machine. So this was one of our application which we built, which is now connected locally to my DeepSeek R1, and then it can basically answer it. So what, as a homework or maybe like as a follow-up task, I want to give to all of you is that you can use the understanding of RAG and running and working with local models today. Try to build the application which has a custom UI, something like this. Maybe you can use Gradio, you can use React, or you can use Python Streamlit. Build a UI because you have all the APIs with you. Integrate maybe a local database. You can use something like LanceDB and put in all your documents there and try to basically like have a conversation with it And once you have it, maybe you can like showcase it to your team. If you're basically building this for a company, you can showcase to company. It's a very great, I can say, value add for them, because like no data is now leaving from their server. They can deploy this tomorrow on their own servers, and they can make sure the privacy is intact. If you're doing it for your own purpose, you can use your private data, you can use your journals and everything, and you will always just like make sure that it'll be safe and secure in that way. So that was more or less about the gist of it, and I'll basically now transition into the next part of the webinar, which is our discussion for the cohort. Let me share the screen once again. By the way, there's one more thing which I just, before we talk about the cohort bit, this is like about how you can stay up to date. And this is something which we usually do in these master classes where, so these are the basically list of people. When people ask us, how do you guys stay up to date with all the new tech updates in the LLM? Because the space is like evolving so fast. This is our recommendation list. If you go to Twitter right now, you can follow these folks, and you can basically like see, I think, and if you basically are looking for a very specific LLM based updates, I would say like follow AK, which is like Akhil Q, and he's like very you can say active on Twitter. He like posts about all the new things. He is also one of the founder of Gradio, which is the technology which I showed you to build UI today, and a lot of new tutorials and you can say anything which is based on Gradio will come upon his Twitter feed. So yeah, this is basically a snapshot. Maybe you can take it here and start following these guys to stay up to date in the AI space.
Just want to add something on top of that. And
Yeah.
also, hey guys, I hope you've had a fun session so far with Siddhant. One thing we've come to realize is that coming back to, what generative AI is for everyone, is that everyone wants to learn Gen AI, but one common complaint that we keep hearing is that, AI and Gen AI space is moving so fast, it feels very intimidating to stay up to date constantly, right? And one learning that we've had over the last year and a half, 2 years of teaching generative AI is that the only way you will not be able to learn or not be able to keep up is if you break the flow of learning, right? So if you break the consistency. People who are trying to learn generative AI every day, even if they're struggling and failing, they know so much more about AI and they are so much more aware and they're able to build solutions because they're trying to work on it every single day, right? So one thing that we tell everyone is that you need to have that little bit of discipline for learning something like Gen AI because it keeps moving. And if you follow these people, if you just actually follow all of them on a Twitter, your feed is completely filled with Gen AI, right? And that is almost like a feed curated for AI, right? In fact, you can create a new Twitter account just to do stuff for Gen AI. That allows you to stay on top of it. That allows you to experiment with stuff, see what other people are doing because your recommendations also become about the AI space. And that becomes a great way for you to sort of stay up to date and also be motivated to constantly keep learning and not break the flow of learning, right? All right. So the last part of the session today is going to be about the generative AI wizardry cohort that we have. It's a 6-month long program. You want to scroll that. Now, essentially what we believe is that the AI powered developer is, the one to stay, right? One of Siddhant's favorite sayings, and I love quoting him nowadays, is that coding, I mean, we're not the type of people who want to induce fear, but this is something you'll probably agree with, is that coding might die, but engineering will not die, right? Engineering is problem solving. It is finding logical reasonings to solve real world problems, right? To come up with a solution, and that is never going away. There's always going to be code used, but how you actually use it, who makes the code is a matter of the technology stack that we are a part of, right? Let's say an engineering manager doesn't actually sit and code. He has engineers under him who actually build the solution. But the engineering manager is the person who's actually doing a lot of the thinking, who's giving direction, right? Sort of like the director of a movie. You can always be the director of a movie because the actors and the cameramen can be anybody today, right? Um, One of the reasons why people want to get on top of the generative AI wave is because, well, let's look at what the other waves have been, right? We had the web-based applications that came out, I believe, what is late
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah, this is the late 90s. This is the era of like internet, right? And I
Yeah.
think this was like these are the I would like to say inflection points in the history. So we had like two of these major inflection point in the tech industry. One was when internet got invented, and we saw the rise of all these companies which were internet companies. Like you saw Google, Wikipedia, Facebook, Amazon. All of these were not possible before internet, but because of the invention of the internet as a platform, now these guys built a business on top of it.
Right, so they're the early players and they sort of, put their flags down and they become these legacy companies. And anyone, especially that Indian wave that went to the United States and got on top of this trend, every single person today is a big tech, an influential person in the world of tech today, right? Whether it might be, people who are your parents' age, who are in their, late 50s, in the 60s. These people have sort of created the tech generation of that time because they were early in that space,
And
right?
there's a second inflection point which happened somewhere around 2010s. This is where Apple released the App Store, and Android also released the Play Store after some time. And you saw like there's a new platform built in as compared to like what internet had. Internet gave access to a lot of people to connect on computers. Now mobile platform basically gave access to everybody to connect to a device which you can like carry around with you. Now this has capabilities like geolocation, right? Because of which Uber got born. Like this was something which was not possible in the internet era because you are not holding a device and like walking around on the road. But with mobile apps, it is possible. And then there are set of companies which took advantage of this inflection point, such as Instagram, WhatsApp, Uber, DoorDash, Airbnb, TikTok, right? And they basically start building their businesses here.
Right. So, taking that logic and extending it, we have come to a point right now where the new infrastructure layer is LLMs and generative AI models. Now, we also like to call these foundational models. And what we are going to be seeing very, very soon is applications building on top of this. Now, this is the like, for example, there was internet as the infrastructure layer, then we saw mobile phones as the device layer, and now we have LLMs as this new type of a layer which has been formed, and we can actually build businesses and services on top of that, right? There are going to be companies who are going to take the place of the new TCSs of the world. Like a TCS is a services company. We have so many companies who are actually only providing services. Then we have applications that can be built on top of this, right? Now we are yet to figure out and see what this wave converts into, because there are so many use cases across so many different fields. It might be vertical SaaS, it might be products, it might be services, and we are seeing so much growth in this, right? But the opportunity lies in getting on top of a new technology shift as early as possible. And I often tell this to anyone who talks to me, right? They're like, hey, how about, I'm kind of busy right now. How about I start this in 6 months from now or 1 year from now? Why won't that still be a good time? The answer is that I can use the logic of, how people often say about Bitcoin or stock markets or the Apple stock. Okay, I wish I could go back 10 years in time and do it. And the best other time is right now. But the interesting thing here is that the whole point of getting on top of the new technology shift is getting on top of it as early as possible. So you're the early adopters, because early adopters they do take a little bit of risk, but the rewards are also the highest for you, right? Because the amount of learnings that you have and the amount of experience that you gain in the next couple of months to a year itself becomes so valuable that you become so much more ahead of the curve, right? So because from 5 to 7 years from now, everyone would have to get on top of learning generative AI. It's going to be inevitable. But are you going to be the person who can actually get on top of it as early as possible? That's where time plays a factor, right? So that's one of the things you want to keep in mind.
Cool. Now these are some of our insights, right? Because we've been like now running generative AI cohorts for more than a year now, and we had like 4 cohorts. So we are able to like see some interesting shifts in the market. I can basically like give you an example. Back in the day when I started the first GenAI cohort teaching here, and one of the major concern was like, will we able to place people, will we be able to like provide jobs to these people who are basically joining us? Because like the entire market was very new. There are very less people who were able to understand technology and even like use it in the production use. But what we saw is like after talking to like at least dozens, maybe I would say thousands of founders right now, is that there are use cases in every industry. And this is something which our insight is like, if you are somebody who has domain expertise or some domain experience, maybe in medical, finance, in any domain field, and then you learn something with us, you basically create a new role for you together, right? We have seen AI marketers now, we have seen like AI designers, AI product managers, people who are now like doing their existing job, but with much more efficiently, right? But apart from that, like we also saw some new roles. So these are the roles which we are able to like where we are able to place people. So Comfy UI engineer, like one of the first type of role where like 100x cohort
So
like
created this role.
created this role and placed people for this. What this job does, it basically it uses stable diffusion as a underlying technology and then use different workflows to build image and video based models in their products. And then we had something called AI generalist. Now, this is a role which is like very popular among non-techies, especially like people who are little more senior. Say you are product managers, you are strategy person, consultants. So you guys need to architect a lot of solutions. So you have a team of engineers, maybe team of people, but you need to figure out like what is the right architecture to build this entire problem or solve this problem. So this is where we saw AI generalists. We had like a student in our cohort which basically like got a deal from Nikhil Kamath, and he basically architected the entire solution. So Nikhil hired for this role called AI generalist, and then the last one is AI engineer and research and development folks. This is like a pretty you can say standard one, but we're still able to see there's a huge demand where like companies are now hiring because they
I
just
think we
want to.
actually want to say Gen AI, yeah, Gen
Yes.
AI engineer and R&D.
Yes, because now companies are hiring because they don't right now know at present what is possible with the technology. So they just like want to run experiments, bunch of experiments, which we also used to do back
Right.
then. But they just need like in-house team who can run all these experiments and use the technologies like DeepSeek and see whether it fits with the use case and they can use it to maybe like build application and solve the problems.
Essentially, it's like a company has probably like 15 different departments, right? Anywhere from sales, marketing, QA, yada, 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 right? Companies, especially the larger companies today are the smarter ones at least are like, hey, it might take about a couple of years for the entire company to shift towards AI, but we don't want to get left behind. So let's have a team of 5 to 7 folks, 10 folks who can come and look at the problems that we currently have across departments and start making solutions, right? Which can probably reduce costs or increase efficiency. And we've seen AI R&D role as a Gen AI engineer becoming more and more popular, and we've seen large companies being able to afford this because they're the kind of companies who are able to create an entire team just for R&D, right? So a lot of demand for this role comes as well. We'll
Yeah.
kind of run through this quickly and give you examples for that.
Hmm.
Like this is the person we spoke about. Rahul was the person who worked with Nikhil and created a bunch of solutions. It was on the WTF content side, how they could automate a bunch of stuff there. Rahul also actually happens to have started Gen AI agency with one of our ex cohort members, and they are doing fantastic, right? They've taken a bunch of projects from
They're working with UAE
UAE right now
companies,
for
right?
a
Yeah.
music production company, and the kind of projects they've taken right now, single projects. I don't like to talk about figures here, but one of the projects that he's taken goes from between $15,000 to $20,000 per month, right? One of our champion stories. In fact, we have an entire case study on Rahul and their co-founder Pranay. And if you guys actually want to read the case study of how they have learned, what you can do is actually just DM us and we'll send you the link. Yeah, just do that. Next up, we have Anji. In fact, Anji is the person who has become a Comfy UI engineer. His
Yeah.
job is to, and Anji's story is also exceptional. He was a photographer, wedding photographer, and he's very passionate about images and photography in general. And what Comfy UI allowed him to do is to have complete control of almost every single pixel inside the frame, right? The depth, the background, every single thing. And I actually did an interview with Anji where he was like, I had to take a picture with the frame, with the people, with the background, making sure everything is perfect, the lighting is perfect. But with Comfy UI, I have control over every single aspect. I can create an image from scratch exactly how I envisioned it. I don't need a camera, I just need a computer for it. And he's been doing exceptionally well. He got a bunch of interesting projects, and now he's joined AOS Labs, which is our, the company that we worked closely with
And he's
to
also one of the
service
person behind the Prime campaign. So
the
yeah, he
the,
was the first person who
the Mirzapur campaign.
yeah, worked with the Amazon Prime on the deep faking for this trailer. Then we have Divyansh. So I'll basically give you like quick context about Divyansh. Before coming to the cohort, he used to run his own LinkedIn marketing agency, and he had like bunch of people who used to write LinkedIn content to grow organically on this platform. And then when he learned the LLM part and some part of it, which I basically showed you today, the RAG specifically, he understood that if you can teach LLM a writing style, especially like a unique personal writing style, you can automate this content writing process, especially for LinkedIn. So this is what he built. It's basically a LinkedIn Copilot where it will understand your tone of style, it will understand who is the target audience, and based on the enough context you provide here on about your company data, about your websites and everything else, it will start writing very personalized post for you. And so this is what he was using, and he was able to like automate most of the process in his own agency, and then he ended up getting hired by LinkedIn for this entire project. Some of the person, I think they basically reached out to him by looking at his progress, and right now he's working with LinkedIn, and he's also running this product called Buzzly.
Yeah, you actually want to quickly show them what Buzzly looks like?
Yeah, I
That
think
might
if
be
you guys,
fun.
this is like live, so you guys can also check this out. Maybe somebody who wants to grow on LinkedIn, you can maybe also like try this. He has a freemium model.
And just by the way, folks, Divyansh came from I know a lot of the people today are engineers here, but he came from a non-coding background, and he was running a agency, right?
Yeah.
And he learned the basics of how LLMs function, of how he has to create something like this. And he was the one who made his own MVP in the beginning, although later on he hired someone to kind of do the front end after that. But he is sort of product managing his entire own product, right? Like he's not someone from a coding background. He doesn't understand. He did not understand any of this before he started and joined us. But you should check this application out. It's really good. In fact, he's recently launched an agent as well. And the agent's job is to know your topic, find some of the best performing articles of that topic from the internet that day, and create topics in your topics and post in your voice. All you have to do is okay the post, and it posts it on its own, right? It's a great app. And again, one of the reasons why he's made such a brilliant application is because he had domain experience, so he knew what the world of LinkedIn is like, and along with that, his understanding of AI and LLMs allowed him to create a solution that otherwise you would not have been able to, right? So domain experience plus understanding AI can actually do a lot of magic together. I think that's enough of the cohort stories. We can just jump into talking about, yeah, we can go from here, right?
Yeah.
So actually, one last thing what we want to do is show you 0 to 100x engineer. 0 to 100x engineer is a challenge that Siddhant actually started where, remember how I mentioned that the only thing that can stop you from progressing and learning AI is the lack of consistency. So in order to tackle that, we've come up with a hashtag that people post regularly on about their learnings called 0 to 100x engineer. It's live
Twitter and
on Twitter and
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, right? So if you just search for 0 to 100x engineer on Twitter, you would be able to find what people are doing every single day. So the whole point is I'm going to sit and whatever I've learned today, whatever I've built today, I'm going to post about it, right? So from day 1 to day 100, I'm going to post every single day of my learning. Whether you failed at learning something or you've succeeded at learning something, whether you had an insight, found a new tool, but you are going to learn and you are going to post about it. What this does is creates, consistency. It gives you the validation because people will interact with it. And third, it also gives you opportunities because people know you are capable of doing this, right? And we often tell people the best way to find opportunities is to actually find someone or put your work out there because they can find you. Usually, when it comes to jobs, if you are the one going to a company amongst thousands other people saying, hey, I want a job, I want a job, chances are they're going to reject you. They're not even going to think anything about you, right? Because you're the one who's sort of asking for something. when you make something cool, especially in Gen AI, people can find you and be like, hey, can we work together? And that's a much better place to be. And we found, I think at least about 20 to 30 people have found opportunities through just posting about 0 to 100x engineer. In fact, I'm going to have my team drop a blog written by a student called Akhilesh, who actually successfully completed his challenge of 100 days of posting on 0 to 100x challenge. And it was about his own emotional state of mind, from being excited to frustrated to feeling like, what the hell am I doing, to gaining confidence. And he made such a brilliant application. He made a great workflow which could basically replicate the Zuzu ads campaign of Vodafone, if you remember. And that got featured on the Overpowered AI podcast with Tanmay Bhatt, right? And that was the highlight of his 0 to 100x engineer journey.
Also reached like 500,000 audience.
Half a million people saw the AI workflow that he had created. It was absolutely fantastic, right? And he's documented this entire process. So we're gonna have someone from our team drop down that blog that he has written himself, right? And to be very honest, it's not like a blog where he's just saying good things about us. It's a blog about his own emotional state of mind through this process. So check that out if you'd like to read what it feels like to learn AI for 100 days and posting about it, feeling wins and losses and wins once again. That should be fun. Right now, next up is, why should you learn Gen AI with 100x engineers? Right? Can you scroll this there, please? Right. First up, it's a 6-month long program which gives you a structured approach to learning. Right? A lot of people tell us that, hey, we want to learn, but it feels like there's so much information, there's so much confusion. We just want someone who knows what to learn and puts it in a structured approach, and that's exactly what we do. Right. One other problem is that people feel that, how do I know what I'm learning doesn't get obsolete, right? So our curriculum is constantly updated every couple of weeks. We have an R&D team whose job is to look at every new LLM, every new model that comes out, play around with it. And if it is good enough, if it feels like the next big thing, we add it to our curriculum, right? Siddhant personally leads that division where whenever something new comes out, we add that. In fact, from just the previous cohort or this cohort, we've added Flux to our curriculum, which was not a part of the curriculum earlier because we were just sticking to Stable Diffusion. This time we've added Flux because we've been able to achieve great results with image diffusion, right? For people who are interested in looking at job opportunities, we have an exclusive job board for you. Um, mostly because since we are a very public facing company, a lot of people come up to us and tell us that, hey, we know you're teaching generative AI, creating generative AI engineers. Can we hire from you, right? And we have some of the largest companies hiring from us. We've in fact placed people in Yash Raj Films. One of our students is leading the division of AI in Yash Raj Films right now, right? We have 2 tracks in the cohort. For people who want jobs can opt for the employment track. For the people who are looking to actually build a business in this space, it could be an agency, it could be a product, we have an entrepreneurship track specifically for those people. So you get to choose between these 2 tracks. Usually the entrepreneurship track kind of gets filled up quickly because some people are more excited about that. So it's one of the reasons why, if you do want to join the cohort, you want to come in early so that you don't miss out the chance of joining entrepreneurship track. Finally, we have industry level mentors and instructors. We have people with tons of experience of building AI solutions who are going to be teaching you. And there are very few people today who actually have tons of experience in building AI solutions, the kind of which I will go into details later. But it's Siddhant, Sridev, Tejas, Pranay. In fact, one of our ex-cohort members has also joined us after they've successfully built multiple applications for clients. They are now becoming an instructor with us, right? Now, who is this course really for? We have identified a couple of demographics that we see a lot of people coming here and also benefiting from. Of course, it's aspiring engineers. If you are someone who wants to learn, who wants to transition into the tech side of things, who has always been a non-tech role, and you feel like, I think I want to get on top of this new place, it's good for you. If you're a DevOps engineer, if you're someone, DevOps engineer, QA engineer, you always felt like, I'm not doing enough with engineering, I want to come on and do the more fun stuff, it's a great opportunity for you to learn generative AI. Data scientists, AI ML engineers, front end and back end engineers. For you guys, I think learning our cohort is going to be a lot of fun because you already have great fundamentals, and on top of that, you will be learning how AI functions, building solutions on top of that, right? Finally, if you're product managers, AI founders, if you come from marketing and designing backgrounds, that's also a great place for you to come and learn here, because Gen AI is for everyone, and just your specific domain knowledge along with AI knowledge can help you think of solutions that no one else has. You might be the first person to come up with very interesting solutions. right? So the details about the cohort itself, right? So we have what we call a live online model where we have live sessions on Fridays and Saturdays, which happen on Zoom between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., right? Then we also have two office hour sessions per week. These happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays usually. So your live session happen with your lead instructors where they're going to be giving you a lecture about a very important topic. You often have pre-reads and post-reads for these lessons, which will be in the form of pre-recorded lessons. So you have pre-recorded lessons that you have to learn before you come for a live session. After the live session, you might have a pre-recorded session that you have to go through after, and you might also have assignments that you want to do based on the live session, the pre-recorded. So the pre-recordeds are going to be supplementary to your live sessions, right? If you have any doubts, if you want to interact with your mentors are going to be the people who you have much more close proximity to, and the ratio between the mentors to students is about 1:15, right? So every 15 people are in a pod where you have access to a mentor. Their job is to help you with your question answers, and they're going to be your what we also like to call TAs, which is your teaching assistants. You have 2 sessions with them per week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, at least 2 sessions with them. Otherwise, we have lots of community events happening. So there's almost something or the other happening almost every single day of the week. But officially, we have 2 weeks, 2 lessons on a Friday and a Saturday, and 2 lessons on the weekdays, 2 sessions on the weekdays on Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? When does the session begin? The cohort begins on the 14th of February. Interestingly, it happens to be Valentine's Day. We have about 3 weeks to go for the next batch to begin, right? At the end of the 6 months of being with us, you're expected to create anywhere from 4 to 6 AI projects, out of which it will be at least 1 to 2 complete AI applications, and the remaining would be workflows, or it would be what would you call them, like MVPs of sorts?
MVPs,
Yeah, it could be workflows or MVPs. The difference between a workflow and, let's say, complete application here would be, for those who don't know the difference, is that a workflow could be something as simple as using Comfy UI, where if you put in an image of, let's say, a horse, it comes out a horse in the right kind of setting, which could be by the beach, it could be in the racetrack, right? You're giving it one input and it's coming out on the other side as another input. And you've created this workflow exactly how you wanted. A better example would actually be, you put in an image and you put in 2 images, one of yourself, one of the clothes you want to be wearing yourself. Outfit anyone is what we call this, right? And what would come out is you wearing that outfit, but you would be doing this inside a UI which Comfy provides you. But in case you want to convert this into a full-fledged application, can we actually have the interior design application that we can show people really quickly? Reimagine. Reimagine. Should be able to find Reimagine AI. Just do Reimagine AI, you should find it. Is this the one? This is not the one. Send the link. Just have a.
Where did you send? Oh, Zoom.
It's in chat. I want to show you what I mean by the Yeah, so one of our cohort members actually built this tool where you could create your own interior design application, right? And yeah, as you can see, this is super fun. You can create your own custom interior design tool, right? So what this person has done is made a complete application, hosted it on the web. There's a great UI for it that people can interact with, right? If you could make this bare bones as well, just a workflow, right? So between the 6 months of time, you'll be making at least 1 to 2 applications, 3 to 4 workflows. These are the kind of applications you would be building, a complete end-to-end application. And don't worry if you're someone who doesn't know code. We also happen to have 2 tracks you can choose from: a code and a no code, right? So if you're someone who feels intimidated by learning how to code, it's all right. We're going to teach you no code using Bubble. Can we go back to the slides? One more thing, I want to actually go back to this for a second. Now, often people tell us that, hey, I'm a working professional. How do I manage this, right? How much time do I need to put in to actually learn this and do justice? And the short answer is, along with the live lessons and the mentor sessions that we have on the weekdays, you're expected to commit about 8 to 12 hours per week. This includes the live lessons, right? So about your own practice time of at least an hour per day is expected. Unfortunately, if you feel like you're somebody who will not be able to put in about 7 to 8 hours of practice every single week, this might not be for you, right? And we want to be very, very honest about this, because once you come in here, you need to know that this is an intensive course that goes on for 6 months where you learn a lot of things. But for that, we expect something out of you. We want you to at least give us your time, give us your, it might be some parts, it's sometimes hard and difficult in the family commitments, but if you want to get on top of the new biggest technology shift, I think it takes some amount of seriousness, and it takes some amount of dedication. And if you can do that, it might be the best thing that you're doing for yourself. There's some of the instructors that we have. We have Tejas, we have Kaushik, we have Shridev, Siddhant. These folks have tons of experience. Siddhant himself has, I'll just let you explain what you've been up to.
Yeah, I think so far, like we've been building like apps. I think it's been almost like 3 years now, and we were also one of the first teams in India who were able to like build and ship generative AI based application in the production. Had like startup experience before this. Like last company got acquired by an academy, and even before that, like I had like one more company which
Siddhant has had two
two
acquisitions to
acquisitions.
Unacademy.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, Tejas happens to be the CTO of Avalon, or not of Avalon, he happens to be CTO of AOS Labs, and AOS Labs is the company which works with AI solutions every single day, right? They are the enterprise consulting wing where they're building solutions for some of the largest companies in the country right now. You can check out the website as well. You can see the kind of applications, the kind of companies they worked with, Amazon Prime, Lenovo, Sportskeeda, Ogilvy, Ashirwad Atta, eMotorrad, like some of the very common names that you guys have heard of. You can check out some of the project
They
details
recently
on
actually
this.
worked with Bangalore Police, and they built the first AI agent which is used live by the Bangalore Police, where somebody calls this 112 helpline number, and the agent will pick up the call and basically help the police station to find where you can basically help this person to resolve the query. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Coming back to the slides, yeah.
Right. You want to talk about learning outcomes?
Yes. So in terms of learning outcomes, I also want to mention one more thing here is that it's gonna be like a unique journey for every single one, right? Because this is something which now we have like designed and we have learned from all the past cohorts. Uh, Irrespective of whatever career track you choose, like whether you go with an employment track or you go with an entrepreneurship track, you basically need to come up with so we do the self-discovery program in the beginning of this entire cohort, where we try to understand what are your strengths, what are your basically you can say skills are, and where we can basically help you land after 6 months, right? And this is where the outcomes becomes a little more personalized than you. For example, if you are a developer who already understands Python and maybe is working on, say, some fintech solution, so I can basically guide you, okay, if you do these 5 projects in this span of 6 months, there's a ton of opportunity. We already have like 5 job openings, or maybe there's a gig happening in this domain. So I can basically help you connect with that. And that's basically like what happens. But on the overall, you would be able to build LLM-based application. You will be able to build image and video-based applications. You would be able to build AI agents, and also like build a complete full stack application, both with code and no code approach. Like you can prefer, you can basically choose your track. If you're somebody who is a non-coder who do not have any understanding, you can still be able to build that. If you're a coder, you basically like can do all these things with Python and R stack.
The most important outcome is your ability to have AI thinking, where you can think of any solution using AI. If not any solution, at least you're going to be looking at problems from an AI, Gen AI point of view, right? Learning the fundamentals of generative AI, and also the whole process and our entire pedagogy, which is our philosophy of learning, is you learning by building, right? We are not a theoretical place. Our entire cohort is teach you a concept and assignments and projects. That's the entire process. And building is exactly what we're going to be focusing on. So through the entire process of 6 months is going to be you trying to build a very strong portfolio for yourself. This portfolio can be for a lot of different type of things, right?
So this is one of the example of like the outcome, right, which you basically gonna get here. What you're discussing about how most of our students got the maximum opportunities. So this is a case study of Akash, which is like one of our students, and he along with fellow other students They basically formed an agency right after the cohort. He was a part of GenAI C1, and these were all the capstone projects. So every module, this was the capstone project they built in the first module, which was a video restyler, where you can convert a real video into an animated video, and you can basically use this to basically build any kind of 2D animation. Then they had the video generation project. These guys also like built India Restyler, which is very similar to what we.
It's one of our template
Yeah.
projects, by the way. So everyone who comes in, they try to at least build that
So
solution.
what I'm going to like what I'm trying to showcase here is that because now these guys have templates for each and every project, a client who comes onto their website, they can now understand, okay, this is what is possible with the technology. And if say I want to do the product photography for my use case, I can just like click on the request a custom solution. I can send them an email, and they got a lead from this, and they convert the lead directly from that. And that basically has helped a lot of students, because you anyways are building these products. You're gonna like put this on your website as a portfolio. You can use this to get a job, or maybe like get a deal based on like whatever goal you have.
Right. So next up is, so in cohort-based learning approach, one of the more important aspects is the community approach to learning, right? And essentially, when people come here, they ask us, right, hey, what is it that we are getting apart from the curriculum? What are the community experiences like? What are the people who are coming to the cohort are like, right? So a couple of stats about the cohort. It's a very mixed group of people. We have about 30 to 40% who are engineers, and the rest of the people come from marketing, designing, senior management professional backgrounds. They're founders. They're also data scientists, right? The average age of the cohort currently is 31, right? So people who are coming here are coming with anywhere from 5 to 7 years of experience at an app, 5 to 7, about 4 to 7 years of experience at an average, right? Usually what we've come to see is that people who are extremely like in college or very early in their careers, are not necessarily the ones who have come because maybe because they feel like they don't know what's coming for them. But essentially, the average age is 30 to 31 of the cohort. The range is from your early 20s all the way to your 50s as well, because we've seen people across different demographics coming in joining us. These people are from some of the best companies in the world right now. We have people coming from Harvard Business School to learn with us. We have people coming from the likes of TCS also coming to learn from us, people from NVIDIA, Apple. In fact, someone who works in the Meta AI department is coming and learning from us as well, right? And one of the reasons why he wants to learn with us is because they're like, hey, Meta is so focused on their own AI stuff. I want to have a holistic understanding of the AI space, right? Network-wise, we have some of the best folks coming and learning here. In fact, the CMO of AirAsia is in the previous batch, right? So people across different demographics are coming, and you get to learn with them, work with them, build projects with them. If you're someone junior and don't know what to build, we actually pair you with people across a slight seniority because they can guide you on what kind of projects you can build, right? And if you're someone senior and you don't necessarily want to get too much into the depths of coding or like building something from scratch, you can ideate and product manage or project manage it, and a bunch of slightly junior folks can actually help you build that solution as well, right? So it's a great balance of people from different experience levels coming and learning together. And it's just fun. It's just fun learning with other people. Learning in a silo is always boring, and learning in a community increases your chances of completing the course and also increase your accountability.
And along with that, what I was basically showing the example is these kind of opportunities can happen only when you are learning in a community. So this business, or maybe like this opportunity, because a bunch of people who are like-minded, who want to solve a similar problem, they came together, they built like this. Something similar happened with Rahul and Pranay, right? And who basically built their own AI agency. So these kind of things, I feel like the maximum ROI where you can get, you never know, like maybe you find your potential co-founder, maybe your employer, right? And you can like business partner as well. Let's move to the next part.
Yeah, we can skip this for now.
Yeah.
All right. So prerequisites, people often ask us, what do you need? Coding experience is not a prerequisite. Obviously, if you have some coding experience or direct tech experience, it helps because of the logic that goes into these things. But we have seen people from non-coding backgrounds thrive. We showed you what an idea, the website that we were just showing the landing page. That guy is from a sales background, right? He learned just enough AI for him to be able to work with it and sell it. And he's hired a bunch of engineers now to build his agency. So you can be really smart about it.
These are two career tracks. I think I've been already speaking about this. So I'll just give you a quick summary of what happens in every track. If you are somebody who wants to build your own product, or maybe like you already have a product, want to integrate AI into your existing product or a company, we would recommend you to like take the founder track. And what we'll be doing here is like we'll again go through a self-discovery program. We'll try to understand like what you are building, what you can build, and how we can basically help you guide towards like building the next best venture. We also have a partnership with a venture studio called Relevant Venture Studio. And so at the end of this entire founder program or the entrepreneurship program, you get to pitch your ideas, pitch your products in front of like these angel investors, these venture studio partners who can then help you maybe raise another round or maybe like start your company officially as a venture backed company. Or even if you don't want to do a venture backed company, we do have a lot of people who support the bootstrap founders, and you can potentially find the community of people from there. In the job seeker track, this is where like if you want to get upskill in AI or you want to find a job, right? A lot of people have these two things. Like most people, because they're coming us at a stage where they already have a job, so they just want to like upskill and maybe like shift or maybe like do more AI work in their company. That is like also like what we have seen a lot of times for people who go for the employment track. And apart from that, we also, like as we mentioned, have a jobs board, exclusive opportunities for people who are joining this program. So we'll help you like find these opportunities and build projects which can basically help you land these gigs.
Yeah, we have an entire session, team whose job is to help you get hired. We're not going to go into depths with this, but we have an entire team who helps you get hired. Although we're not one of those, placement guarantee cohorts. In fact, placements are not usually the thing that you should be only coming here for. You should be coming here for the joy of learning, for building very cool projects and getting into the Gen AI space. But obviously, outcomes are very important, especially if you're young in your career. At any given point of time, we have 30 to 40 open roles in the Gen AI space, right? Opportunities are ample. We will help you get them. But, no one can guarantee you jobs, and we won't either. We don't want to like make it one of our
But we
things.
do like our best to help you prepare so that you can get whatever opportunities you want, right?
Yeah. We have the entire curriculum also. We actually don't want to run through the curriculum in depth, but we'll just quickly go to it in brief.
I'll basically give you like an overview of how we design this curriculum. So we start with image models, and the reason we start with image model because you learn the entire process of fine tuning, working with AI, especially Gen AI, with visual learning experience. And this is what we have realized. Like if you see things visually, you'll be able to understand and learn principles very well. And then you basically use a similar principles to basically build the applications with LLMs and with agents, right? After the image model, we introduce you to something called, so we basically use Comfy UI in the image model to like help you build, and this was the role which we also like describe it, how you can like use Comfy UI to build image-based workflows. And then we'll give you some mid-capstone projects. These are projects which you have seen on the website for What an AI Idea and the Interior AI. So after this, we basically guide you towards the code and no code tracks, because you will be entering into the full stack module. In this module, you will be building the front end and back end for the workflows which you have built in the say previous module, or maybe you will be building in the upcoming module. So you learn how to, if you're choosing the Python track, you'll basically learn how to do programming, build APIs, build UIs, and at the end of the day, it's like a full stack application. And if you're choosing the no code track, you basically like learn the Bubble and the no code ecosystem to do the same thing. After that, there's a LLM module where we go deep into the LLM part, which basically is like a 1.5 month long module. We talk about everything in detail. What I was able to do today, it was just a very small, you can say a trailer of it, but we go very deep into each and every topic, learn everything on the first principle, then moving on to the agents, which you basically learn how you can like automate a particular, you can say, task, and you can run autonomous agents which can like do things for yourself. It can like write an email, it can basically like hire people, it can apply for you. We have like a person who recently built a job search agent which is now sitting and applying for different jobs on his behalf, right? So all those kind of things is basically will be doing.
Cool, guys. That's pretty much it when it comes to all the discussion about the cohort. We're gonna talk about the pricing. So just before I go into that, we actually had the early bird pricing end yesterday, right? But a lot of people reached out to us and they were like, "Hey, we've been waiting for the webinar. so that we can actually come for the webinar, get to know more about the cohort, and then at least decide whether we want to sign up for the 6-month long program or not, right? So usually the way it functions is that when the early bird price ends, then we have the regular pricing go on. But on popular demand, we've extended the early bird pricing for just 2 more days. Today is the 26th, 27th and 28th is when the early bird pricing will be ending, right? And we only have a very few seats that we're keeping on for that. The regular price is 1,49,000. But for those who are interested in learning more about the cohort and joining the cohort, the price is 118,490. We have EMI options, no cost EMI options available through credit cards and what we call Bajaj. And if you're someone who is international, unfortunately, we don't have an EMI option available for you, but you can make payments through Stripe, right? If you do need a loan and you come from an international background, you'll have to manage that someone with an Indian bank account. But the pricing is 118,490. And if you want to join, you all need to do is you need to scan this QR code and reach out to us and say, call back, right? We have a team sitting today whose job is to actually get in touch with you and help you understand whether this cohort is actually for you or not. I know we've spoken about this in brief. They'll talk to you about this in detail and understand whether you want to join us for a 6-month long program or not, right? So just scan this QR code, reply with call back, and we will get back to you within today or tomorrow, right? And there are just a few seats left for the early bird pricing. We're keeping it very, very, we don't want too many people to come in for the cohort. We always shut the cohort about 1.5, 2 weeks before the final date. So there are a few seats left. Get in touch with us and we will take up your questions, right? And for now, if you have any questions, there's the Q&A box. You can just drop in your questions and ask us what your questions are, and we'll be answering them live for the next 10 minutes. And yeah, we have 10 minutes of Q&A. So if you have any questions about the cohort, about what we've learned so far, you can just ask us in the Q&A section, and we will try to answer them live. If we can't answer them live, just drop in your question, add the QR code so that we can get back in touch with you to answer them anyway.
Can we get recording of all classes just in case? Yes, you do get all the recording. So we record all the lectures. And even if you are somebody who is like not from India or like you're not able
It's
to
saying the
follow
QR code is not working. Can you guys just drop in the link anyway? I think it's usually working for some people, it doesn't. So the EMI per month comes to about 8 to 9,000 rupees for I think 8 to 9,000 rupees for a 12-month EMI that you take.
You can also check out the link. So our team is posting a link. If the QR code is not working, you can just click on this link and contact us.
Yeah. So the no cost EMI that you can get it comes to about 8 to 9,000 a month. That's for a 12-month long EMI. Then we have, as there is so much advancement in AI rapidly, how would you manage the updates in recent days of the course you are offering?
So again, this is one of the fundamental approach we have took, right? So we learn everything from first principles, and we are able to segregate what concepts you need to understand. For example, LLMs, they do use some similar concepts, even though say today's DeepSeek is coming in, but under the hood, I know that it works with few short learning, chain of thought working. So we were able to identify the first principle thought process behind these technologies, and we separate that into different modules. For example, we introduce you the basics of RAG, basics of LLM, and then we introduce you to all the latest modules and tech who are basically there. For example, like DeepSeek, just like 1 week before they launched it, and now basically I'm introducing you and it to you, and then basically you can expect the similar thing in the cohort. One more thing which we do here is we give you access to up to next 1 year for all the updates, because we do cohorts like every 3 months. So even though say you joined a cohort for January, but you will get updates until the next January for the next year, right? So that's basically one of the way how you can stay up to date and watch all the content.
Yeah, and I think someone had once asked us that, will you be covering this tool, that tool, this tool, that tool? And we often say that we are not a you'll see a lot of these ads where people are saying, oh, learn 25 AI tools. We are not a tool learning cohort. We are a cohort where you learn how to build AI solutions using, as Siddhant said, first principles, right? So regardless of what tool, if you understand the principles and fundamental of generative AI, you can use a lot of different tools. When the new ones come out, you would be able to learn them. One ex-cohort member actually said this to me when I was interviewing him. He said that by the end of 6 months, you spend so much time practicing and learning different types of AI models. Whenever a new tool, whenever a new model comes out, I know whether this one is good or bad in 5 minutes of using it, right? You get that much experience, hands-on experience of doing it. right? Someone said, can't we learn this from YouTube? Now, that's a good question. The thing about education often is that we live in a time where education is freely available for everything. People don't even need to go to Harvard Business School to learn what Harvard is teaching, right? Like all the management books are already available. When it comes to a structured approach to learning, a lot of it it's a lot of the services that we provided. Our job is to actually with the best curriculum, the best instructors, take care of your doubts, make sure we are motivating you, we are keeping you accountable. We have a dedicated team whose job is to call you if you missed one session, if you've not submitted your assignment. We'll ask you,
Giving you opportunities
yeah,
across the world. Yeah.
even the opportunities that are coming to us, right? And you get, when people get to interact with each other, they have a community experience, they're learning from other people's experience. Like, yeah, I mean, you can always get homeschooled, but you still go to an institution because that offers you something more. And it's just more, the experience becomes much more better, right? Thing with YouTube is that you will spend a lot of time in figuring out what to learn. You might learn something which is redundant, right? So we're not saying you can't do it. You have to be an exceptional human being to do it. But if you're not that, you want to be a little realistic about yourself. And I often ask people, when was the last time you learned something on YouTube and you carried on learning the topic for 6 months? And 99.99% of people have told me that they have not carried on learning, right? A lot of people have asked, is this for students, right? If you're a college student, and even if I mean, I'm assuming you're a college student, the answer is that, sure, this is definitely for you as well. We believe that what colleges teach you often is very outdated things. If you want to learn, generative AI, which is the latest stuff, it's a great place to do it. We also teach you building AI solutions. It's something that is we teach you how to have skills which are valuable, right? So if you understand the value of that, then you should come and learn with us.
I'm a second year student, already know many things to talk about. I've won few hackathons. Again, as I said, right, like Zahil also, it's all about like what kind of opportunities and services we are providing for you, right? We have seen a lot of people who are basically like might not need to even like attend all the lectures. Maybe they already understands the full stack module or with the AI agents module. But what you will get here is the opportunity to connect with, first of all, like-minded people. And these people are like we have handpicked across the industry, and you know that they are very serious about learning AI. And then you can basically get opportunities, right? In the last cohort, we had CMO of AirAsia Move. We had like one of the leading product strategy from this company called Soti. We have people from like Harvard Institute. So these guys are basically coming in, and you working with them on their projects, maybe helping them, solving them. I think that is what I would say like somebody's experience you can still get and gain a lot of opportunities from that.
Someone's asked, I want to create a web app, like, and once again, someone is just message bombing us. Just stop. We'll get to your question. Um, I want to create a web app like ChatGPT in which the source are PDF like Notebook LM. However, I want it should be private and subscription based. Can you personally help on
That's
WhatsApp?
exactly what I did in today's session. But if you want like an in-depth understanding, obviously I can't teach you everything in 1 hour. So yeah, but we do cover this extensively in the cohort.
I'm a senior test engineer with 7+ years of experience. How this program helps me in the space of um, AL technology? I'm guessing he meant AI technology. For my next career steps, I'm looking to get into product manager. I'm looking in different certifications landed here in your webinar.
Yeah, so like a lot of people, especially who are now starting their career in as an AI product manager, and this is on the core thesis, right? What I teach is like you are not gonna be isolated in one environment, even if you are a developer or an engineer or a business person or a product manager. You need to know a little bit about everything, and this is the intersection point which AI is blurring for you because now even a non-techie can build applications. Even a business person can like do product management. So what we teach in this cohort is how can we better make you can say like the person who understand product, business, and the tech. That is the intersection where we operate in. And so that what you will be able to do here is to learn about how to ideate, how to find the right problem statement, how to like validate that, how to again launch, because a lot of people are like here launching their products and maybe learn through that journey with you. So and it basically helps. So we do have like people who have joined other companies and worked as an AI product strategist and consultant. So yeah.
Someone's asked us what is the average median package that you're getting? Just want to know the ROI, right? I want to answer this question, and the problem is that this question comes from, this very typical mentality that I'm giving this much money, how much am I getting back, right? And to be honest, I can give you some numbers, but that would probably not give you the right way of looking at this. And the right way of looking at this isn't, "Kya, if I spend this much money, can I get a job worth this much?" Because if you are only looking for that job of, I don't know, 6 LPA, 10 LPA, 15 LPA, you would definitely be limiting yourself. The people who have joined us today are running agencies where they are, clocking in revenues which, nobody their age would be getting in salaries, right? Um, when it comes to the job, it is a new space. We have job opportunities for junior developers in this range of 6 to 10 LPA. When it comes to mid-level, it's between 10 to 15, and senior is keeps going up and up, right? So you ideally don't want to look at it just that. You want to look at it from building a skill set and a type of thinking point of view. And um, once you do that, the opportunities that are coming your way, you will be able to figure out whether this opportunity makes sense for me or not, whether I should invest my time in a job or not, in this type of job or not, right? So don't just look at it as if how much ROI can I get, because just in terms of ROI, in fact, even during the cohort, there are people who are getting internships and they get bounties and they win that during the cohorts. For a lot of people, it is, positive during the cohort itself, because a lot of companies come to us and tell us that, okay, we just want to experiment with one project. We don't want to hire the entire person. The project that they are building as their own capstone project for the cohort, can we pay them money for that? There's a person called Ashar. He got paid $1,000 bounty for building a solution for a company while he was learning. So he was already pretty much, break even during the cohort itself.
Take some more questions.
Guys, we might not be able to take all of your questions. So if you have an important question, just text us with that question on the QR code, and we will get back to you on WhatsApp if we can't get back to you right now, because we're going to be winding up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll just quickly take this. Is GPU provided by you for running the model? Yeah, that is like there in the cost, and that is why we have baked everything in the cost. You don't need to spend any single, you can say, money on buying the extra hardware. So we don't ask you to come up with a specific hardware, because we do need, for example, in today's session also, I was able to only run a smaller model on my PC because of the RAM, right? But we have realized once you are building workflows, for example, the outfit for anyone, right? That requires at least 32 GB of RAM and a specific GPU. Even if you don't have that, we have a partnership with a cloud company which will give you a dedicated machine which you can basically use throughout the 6 months and run all your experiments, even if you don't have any other, you can say, device with you.
Yeah, we sort of add that cost already, so you have access to very powerful GPUs. We'll take 2 more questions and then we're gonna call it.
Yeah.
All right. You want to take this?
Yeah, how this course helps cloud Azure DevOps engineer? Does this covers MLOps, production deployment of the AI model? So MLOps is one of the core part, but however, I don't again go very deep into one specific job role, because as I mentioned, AI is so diverse today. You can do ops here. You can automate a lot of pipelines. You can maybe work with a lot of enterprises to help them achieve efficiency in their existing machine learning operations, right? Pipeline. So we do cover the deployment process. How do you fine tune your model? How do you find a solution to a problem which can be identified and solved by the Gen AI? And how can you deploy that? So we use Replicate here. We use you can say platforms like Hugging Face, where you basically learn how to take the model and apply it. But we don't go very specific, narrow down niche to say MLOps right now. But what I want to just again tell you is that don't come here for a very specific topic if you say, okay, I want to learn this particular part. But I would say you will be mind blown by the possibility of things which you will be able to learn and then apply in your own field, right? You never know, maybe you learn RAG and you're able to you can say automate the entire pipeline, because now you have context which can basically use to maybe take decisions. Maybe you can build an agent which can again help an enterprise save money on their existing pipeline. So those are the things which we basically will be teaching to you.
A bunch of people have asked us about the projects for the AI agents.
So we do have like a lot of, as I mentioned, like the path is going to be personalized to you. We have like some projects which are going to be coming from our team, but
What are
most
the
of,
template projects people can build with AI
so
agents?
for template projects, one we have seen is like the automation in terms of content creation. Like you would be able to automate the entire pipeline for LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. We have seen now people are doing it for YouTube, where you can basically build your own AI avatar. You can also like do voice cloning. You can like automate the part of like you can say coming up with the idea, doing this research, putting it, posting it online, and basically doing it. We, by the way, have this hackathon participant, and we some of our students were also in the hackathon. They built an autonomous AI agent Twitter bot, which basically just shitpost on a particular topic, right? And one of these bot was like built by this team called Gray, and they got 1,000 followers recently, and they were basically like running this like from last like 3 months. So this is a bot
A
which is,
shit posting bot
yeah,
which
shit.
automatically gained 1,000 followers on
Yes,
Twitter.
yes. So there's like projects like that, and
We
then
also have the sales agent, right?
we do have sales agents. So this is like one of the project which a lot of companies are now using it. So if you are somebody who is like into sales, or maybe like you understand like how sales work, you need to like help your clients for a particular problem statement, or maybe like a particular query. Most of the time, like you cannot understand or remember each and every detail about the product. So what this agent helps you, or maybe anyone, is like understand every detail about your product, which may be written or maybe like built by the team who has already built this product. And then you can like live ask this question. By the way, we did like one of the demo also, where I made the 100x counselor as an agent, where I put all the curriculum into this agent, and I did a voice cloning of my co-founder's voice. So it exactly talks like my co-founder, and then you can ask any question about the curriculum. So this is like another use case where you can use it for sales, you can use it for counseling, and yeah, stuff like that.
We'll take the last question right now. Someone said that, do you provide paid LLM APIs as well? We do not.
No, we work with open source. What I actually showed you today, that is basically what we do most of the time. And most of the time when you're learning everything, you don't need to often go with the paid ones. Yes, I also agree that if you are launching your own product, maybe for the production usage, you might shift to the paid one. But that is basically up to you. In the entire cohort, whatever we're going to teach you is based on the open source projects, and you don't need to pay anything for that. We will basically cover every part of it.
All right, guys. Okay, one last question. Someone said, are the weekday sessions the same timings? What timings do we do our weekday sessions on, Siddhant?
Mostly it happens after 7. So it's somewhere between 7 to 8, based on the person who will be your mentor. So we do these mentor office hours, and usually like they give you a
Between 7 and 8 p.m. is when
between,
it happens,
yeah,
usually
between
on
7
Tuesdays
and
and
8.
Thursdays, and the
Yeah.
live sessions happen on 6 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. We're just going to keep the QR code open for the next 5 minutes. So if you have any questions that we haven't been able to answer, you can directly message us there and we will answer. If you're someone who's interested in knowing more about the cohort and whether this makes sense for you, you can reach out to us, and we will call you. Someone from our team is going to get in touch with you, send you all the detailed brochures so that you can make a very informed decision. And a lot of people have asked us, are we going to send recordings for today's session? We don't send out any recordings. So unfortunately, if you haven't paid attention, it's too bad for you. But if you want the case studies of Rahul and Pranay, if you want to know about the 0 to 100x engineer challenge that Akhilesh completed, you can scan the QR code, messages that you want it, and we will send you all the details right there, right? Thanks a lot for your time, everyone. It's been thank you for taking your time and coming out today on this Sunday. We've had a great time, and once again, happy Republic Day, and hope to see some of you in the cohort.
Cool. See you.
See
Bye-bye.
you.